Good afternoon and welcome back to the YouTube channel of Old Bloke Crypto on Friday, March the 8th, 2024. Trust you're having a very successful week despite the correction that we needed to have, and feeling a bit festive today. So starting off with this little screen grab from the famous Home Alone movie and Macaulay Culkin with his equally famous line, which I've adapted for the Ethereum shorters. Do you guys give up, or are you thirsty for more? I think they're thirsty for more. So let's get into it and find out how on the last trading day of the week, certainly for the institutions, we can make sure the shorters get some more pain in their Christmas stocking. So I shared on Twitter this afternoon, we're most of the way through the Asian session now, and about 10 hours until the next US session opens, despite the correction of around 7% on Ethereum and Bitcoin from long time ago, a whole 3 days, we're still able to make some good trades there, as you can see there, 4 nice trades for the last 3 days. And despite that correction, or because of it, we can make our gains even bigger. It might sound a bit counterintuitive of how a correction can make bigger gains, but I'll show you and how you can ride along on that bandwagon if you so choose. Several caveats there. First of all, this is not a financial advice video, never is. Now, and as I often say, you do you. I always trade at maximum leverage. 100 times on Bybit for Ethereum is the maximum. You might trade on 2 times leverage. I usually trade in clips of 5 or 10 Ethereum multiples thereof. You might trade in 1. You might trade in 1,000. That's up to you. The same principle applies, and you can play the market makers at their own game, and the unwise shorters at this stage, who will just keep piling in and still thirsty for more. So let's go and get stuck into it, and we'll see what today's bring. This is historical. This is great. These are past now, and you're only as good as your last trade. So let's make the next one a good one. And please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, don't tell your enemies, because you don't want them to get rich as well. And hit the notification bell for notification of future videos. The next one will be next week. I have the weekend off. Enjoy the weekends. The institutions aren't trading, so neither am I. I'll leave a position open in case there is a major move on the market, but apart from that, I won't be adding to it, etc. All right, let's get stuck into it. I'm just going to go to my favorite chart first today. And this is the ones that I use as a combination of different indicators here, but I'll refer you to what's really standing out here is the parabolic stop and reversal, these blue squares, blue cross marks that I talk about. And you see here, this was the dump that we had this week right down here. And you'll see here, this parabola to the downside, it starts to spread out. You see these crosses start to spread out, as opposed to tightening here in when there's less of a major price move, and you'll see to the downside, all of a sudden it came down to the downside. And as I said on earlier videos, this was a manipulated move. It came down to exactly the bottom of the range, top of the previous range within a couple of dollars, and then reversed. And it was picked up straight away by this indicator, one of the first indicators to actually do so, which I also mentioned earlier in the week. And of course, the reverse parabola to the upside, and of course picked up that price move there. And so you see these blue crosses are now nice and tight together. So we're trading in a little bit of a range. Now, when I say range, don't run away with that phrase. We are not in a range, as so to speak, but we're trading in a short-term little range waiting for the next breakout. Will it be to the upside or will it be to the downside? Well, currently the PSAR is printing a reversal, but again, because it's such a tight range, and as I say many times, you can't just take one indicator as gospel. You need to have confluence of indicators. Well, that's nice, but that's all it is at the moment. So again, because these squares, these blue crosses are pretty so closely together, I wouldn't hang my hat on a major move happening right now. And anyway, we're in the Asian market and Asian market session, and most major moves, of course, happen in the US session, not exclusively, but mostly. All right. So anyway, so we're in a little bit of a range at the moment. Where do we go from here? Well, let's have a look at our liquidation charts. And well, you might have seen previous videos in the last week or so where I talked about bear traps, and I talk about them quite regularly because the market maker is setting them on a regular basis, far more than bull traps at the moment. And that's just the nature of the bull phase of the market. You get more bear traps. And you see here, 3-day chart, liquidations on Ethereum, on Binance. You see here, this price here, 39.22, got taken out. That was a nice profit. Thank you very much. But you see up here, the shorters are still piling in, and I'll go down to the shorter time frame in a minute. But you see he's left quite substantial liquidity to the upside here, which we haven't tapped yet. There's lots of millions sitting up here, and there's tens of millions sitting up here. So he will be back. Let's have a look at the shorter time frame on the 12-hour and see what silly shorts have come in, piled in. Look at them go. Thank you very much. Okay, so and this is in the last hour, they've really started piling in. I've been watching this today, and you'll see here we're right up to 39.77. So these clips of 20 to 30 odd million, they add up, that's for sure. So look at them all sitting up here. All right, so we've got, several hundred million sitting up here to the upside, topping out around that 39.78. So of course, that is a nice place to set your stop. Take profit stop, that's where I've got mine set at the moment. Now, let's have a look here to the downside. And of course, you could come down here for a snack first before reversal. And that's what I won't be at all surprised if this happens either at the end of the Asian session, several hours, or during the UK session where we dip back down to that 38.60 odd level. And you see there's some snacks down there for him to absorb. And I won't be surprised if that happens before the next move to the upside. Now, just one thing I need to mention, and that's where, and I've posted about this on Twitter this morning, this is where you need to be nimble. Now, I predicted that this would happen during the US session overnight, that we would get this price taken out, right? Now, just go to that tweet. Okay, major liquidation zone I see getting hit during the US session. He's sitting around 39.30. Now, there was a little bit of liquidity sitting above that bit more, so I had set my stop a bit higher than that. But then I'm watching the price action, and we're only 15 minutes away from that US session being closed. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to just drop my take profit stop down by about $10, actually $11, to the top of the very bright yellow band, like this sort of yellow band here. Okay, to make sure I captured that before, because often what happens, the liquidity is captured in price reverses in over 80% of the time that happens. And so what happened? Got up to 39.34. Thank you very much. And then quickly retraced. So I managed to capture that. So you need to be nimble. If you're seeing especially right now, the end of a US session happening and price action not far away, like I've said in this tweet, from capturing these yellow bands, feel free to move your stop and lock in that profit, because profit locked in is profit. Profit not locked in is not profit. Say that a dozen times and see how you go. All right. So that is that point. Yes, the point I needed to make. So anyway, so again, we've got our spread there. And if it comes down into this area here, the bottom of this area at 38.70 odd, I may be adding to my position. Just a handful of ETH, I may be, but there is a better place where I can add to it if the price comes down further, and I will show you that now. As you've heard me say before, I normally don't trade these shorter time frames of 4 hours. I'm normally a daily and weekly man, but the market is moving so quickly at the moment. You need to be nimble on your feet. And so it is just one of those exceptional times, and we trade exceptionally. And so I'm watching the 4-hour chart here, and you'll see how price is just respecting these exponential moving averages as we continue on through a trending market. Remember, I said we're not ranging, we're trending, and the EMAs are most important during trending times. And so you see here, respecting the dark blue is the 21 EMA, the red is the 12 EMA, light blue 50 EMA, and of course, the big boy down the bottom, the 200 EMA. You don't want to see that get tagged, that's for sure. So here's our big move during the week, that big 6% move that we saw, actually, I tell a lie, to the bottom of the wick was 11%. The bottom of the candle was 6%, so 11%, so that's quite a lot. I will mention to you right now that historically is not a large amount of, as far as correction goes. When I say about having sufficient margin, you need to be able to defend your position by a 30% drop. So if you don't have an extra 30% in your kitty to defend your position, you're asking to get stopped out. Even in a market like this where we're getting steady moves to the upside, everything is roses. All you need is one black swan to take that market down by 30%. Historically, it's been more. We've had up to 60%, but those corrections, I won't go into great detail, are getting less and less now, but still 30%. You need to have 30% in your kit bag, full margin, to be able to cover your position so you don't get liquidated. Otherwise, so many longs got liquidated the other day because they didn't have sufficient margin or sufficient cap, whichever way you'd like to put it, to back their trade. And if you do have it, it's a great opportunity, because when you get down the bottom here, very difficult to be able to capture price right down at the bottom of the wick. It moves too fast, but certainly down the bottom of the candle range, you can capture that and add to your long position for great profits. So getting back to the point that I'm making here on the 4 hourly, if price comes down, and see how it's occasionally touching this 21 EMA, I tell a lie, 21, how it's touching on a regular basis, and then goes away, they're your points to add to your long position. So currently the 21 EMA is sitting on 37.58. If price does come down to there and touches that, you bet your life I'm adding to my position. Absolutely. Even more so than I would be at the bottom of this liquidity band. So I may add 2.5 to 5 ETH down here if it gets down here. But if it gets down here, I'm going to add more likely 10 ETH to that position, because you see how it's respecting the EMAs. We're trending, and I can defend that position another 30%. Absolutely. But that is a profit opportunity to add to my long right there. So consider that when you're making your own decision. There are 2 more charts to go over before I wrap this up. And of course, King Bitcoin, got to refer to that, continuing to trend to the upside. Of course, now you could say a range is forming. Perhaps that is the case, but it takes time to define a range. And this is a 4 hourly chart, and I wouldn't define a range on 4 hourly. It's got to be at least daily or weekly. Anyway, the point is we're still continuing to respect these EMAs. So I would say, with the confluence of the Bitcoin ETFs continuing to suck Bitcoin out of the market, that we will continue the steady rise of King Bitcoin, and certainly up to the recent local highs of about 69,000. But once we go through that, it's going to get parabolic. So I've got nothing to be worried about, since we had this little flush earlier in the week. I think that we'll just continue to dodder onto the upside before we have a major breakout to the upside. Now let's have a look at the ETH BTC ratio. Now this is very interesting. And once the page finally loads, we're going to look at that. You might say that's a bit choppy, but not necessarily so, because remember I said to you, this here was the strength of Bitcoin. It was just with the ETFs. Okay, weakness of Ethereum, strength of Bitcoin. These are 2 different happenings, so to speak. Okay, so now Ethereum and Bitcoin, you'll see this here. Ethereum is rising. We're over the 50. We're over the 50, 21, over the 200 EMA. And not only that, we've tested it, and we have reversed to the upside, and we bounced. Essentially, that was a wick, not a candle. So, and we've gone on to the upside. So again, expecting now Ethereum to continue to outperform Bitcoin. And we are now only 10 days away from the Denkun upgrade, which you heard me talk about a number of times. Very important, because the narrative will be building right through next week. You'll see all these armchair experts all of a sudden discovering Ethereum, which they've been knocking for a long time, and saying, oh, it's an old grandpa coin, which I would take that and wear that proudly, that badge proudly. And as I've shown you on Twitter, not bad for a grandpa coin. I've got dozens of these, and you can do exactly the same thing. I'm not the oracle of the world. Just follow the money trail. And here we go. So as I said here, so to summarize, Ethereum strong, going to be getting stronger. There'll be more room to the upside in this trending market. I'm following the liquidity. I'm setting my stop at around the 39.78, I believe. I'll check that in a minute, and expecting that to get hit in the next US session. If it comes down here, I'm going to add to my position if that's get taken out. And I'm especially going to add if these 21 EMA, the strong support, gets tagged. So that's where we're at. Hope you make lots of money from our dear Ethereum shorters who are clearly thirsty for more. This is Old Bloke Crypto. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you again next week. Thank you.